You might be aware that Wrexham Council recently voted to spend £32,000 of your money on iPad upgrades for county councillors. And they made that decision literally a couple of days after they voted to close elderly daycare centres in Kaya Park and Rose to save £47,000 incidentally. Now, when key workers like doctors, nurses and teachers don't get free iPads, it's difficult to justify why councillors should get them. And even more difficult when you think about the fact that over the last council term, an extra £100,000 every year has been spent on councillor pay rises. Now, that's not even the worst decision that's been made over the last council term. The council's also voted to spend £2.1 million worth of your money on consultants to tell them how to save money. It's still spending over £100,000 every year on the mayor's budget. Now, this is your money. It's important that you know where it's spent, and it's important that you know that there are frivolous spending decisions being made at the same time as the council is voting to close elderly daycare centres, to cut children's services, to cut the amount of funding going to our leisure services, closing community centres, cutting jobs. And all that starts to jar a bit when you put it in context quite rightly. Now, we think those are the wrong decisions. We think that it's time for a change at Wrexham Council. Since 2012, the council's been run by Labour and then by Tories and Independents. And we think it's definitely time to do things differently. And that's why all your Plaid councillors have made a pledge not to take iPads if elected in May. We've also made a pledge not to take pay rises over the next council term because we want to see that money go back into the pot towards frontline services. So there's a key issue here about making sure that where cuts need to be made, that we cut from the top down and not the bottom up, as we're seeing happening at the moment. So if you want a council with a conscience after May the 4th this year, if you want a council that's actually going to work on behalf of our local communities, on behalf of local people, I'd strongly urge you to give your support to Plaid Cymru.